Booting up any modern Blizzard game requires you to go through the Battle.net launcher. In those precious moments between your making a decision to play a game and actually getting it to start, you're treated to a vision of Blizzard's 6 major modern IPs. World of Warcraft, Diablo 3, StarCraft 2, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, and finally, Overwatch. You'll see these as bold icons regardless of whether you own the games in question, or even, as my sadly banned WoW account would indicate, are able to play the game. Apparently the account was hacked by Gold Farmers a few years after I stopped playing. These 6 games represent everything that Blizzard has released since the phenomenally successful World of Warcraft in 2004, and, importantly, the properties that Blizzard has continued to support and update. The launcher itself is an interesting way for Blizzard to not only solve the issue of most of these games needing a launcher of some kind, but also allows them to easily promote all of their products. World of Warcraft operates on a subscription model, with a free-to-play introduction, supported by regular expansions. Any MMO will depend on a launcher that regularly updates game content because, until the moment that they die, MMOs are rarely considered content complete. Hearthstone is a free-to-play digital card game. Having a launcher allows Blizzard to continually update content that might tempt players to pay. It's all very well to pay for advertising space to promote sales of their latest adventure or expansion, but there is probably nothing more effective than having a tool that ensures that adverts are beamed directly to the consumer as they play the game. This also allows players to see the gaps in their collection and be tempted by any missing content. Heroes of the Storm, their free-to-play MOBA, is throwing out a stream of content from new heroes to skins to new maps. A drip-feed in content is almost inevitable in a saturated MOBA market where Heroes is competing with the 2 largest esports games in town, League of Legends and Dota 2. Continuous updates are both expected and required just to keep Heroes relevant. Overwatch, despite being a boxed product, is also subject to a continuous barrage of updates. Much like Heroes, it relies on an albeit slower stream of new content to stay relevant. This also encourages people to invest in the microtransactions that are built into the financial model of the game. With Legacy of the Void's release ending the main narrative of the StarCraft universe, Blizzard saw the opportunity to use their launcher to once again continue to develop and deploy new content for their community. New campaigns and cooperative commanders have sustained interest in the non-competitive side of the game since the story ended. Finally, and perhaps most interestingly, Diablo 3 has also seen continued and sustained support. Diablo 3 doesn't have any obvious avenue for continued financial returns, however negligible, but it seems to provide an insight into Blizzard's strategy. Instead of simply making money, Diablo appears to be being used as a way to continue to market their other games. From pens that you can only get if you play Heroes of the Storm to decorative wings that come with buying the Origins edition of Overwatch, Diablo can sometimes feel like it's now an advertising platform rather than a game. This cross-pollination of intellectual properties across games is at its most apparent in Heroes of the Storm. Rather than featuring a cast of new characters, it's instead an all-star cast from the other franchises. In fact, this is so ingrained in the DNA of the game that you can filter out heroes by universe and can receive quests that require you to play heroes from a particular franchise. Alternate skins even allow us to imagine what Nova from StarCraft would look like were she a Diablo character. They allow us to imagine the visuals of Alarak the Protoss or Johanna the Crusader in Warcraft, as well as Overwatch's Tracer in StarCraft. None of this is to say that a cross-pollinating approach is in any way unique to Blizzard. In many ways, it's an approach that has been and is being used by Valve. Valve, the company who not only built the Steam launcher for their games, but turned that launcher into the planet's premier digital games distribution platform. They trialled selling products in bundles that tie together different IPs, first the Orange Box, bringing together Half-Life, Portal and Team Fortress, then the Potato Sack as part of the ARG to announce Portal 2. The Potato Sack didn't actually include a Valve Games. It instead brought together a number of different publishers, genres and properties with a common and temporary infusion of potato. It's safe to say it was one of the weirder bundles I've seen. But that idea of harnessing multiple properties and the ability to continually update through the use of a common launcher is there. Then come the tie-ins that have seen Team Fortress 2 become not only the #1 hat simulator, but also a means of selling other people's games on the Valve platform. The list of promotional cosmetics in Team Fortress 2 is mind-boggling, but it includes gems like the Dashing Hashashin, a grey hood worn by the spy class and awarded for players who pre-ordered Assassin's Creed Revelations, the Deus Spex, replicas of Deus Ex Human Revolution's Adam Jensen's armless bridgeless augmented sunglasses, and the Steel Six-Pack, a Roman-themed cuirass for Pyro awarded for pre-purchasing Total War Rome 2. This is distinct from the skins that Blizzard released in Heroes of the Storm, in that they exist to promote other people's games. That being said, this isn't to say that Valve is somehow more generous than Blizzard, they just want their cut from every game sold on Steam. On the other side, publishers are getting advertising that stretches out into another, usually non-competing product. It's hard to imagine that this would be quite as widespread if Team Fortress 2 were not quite so widely played. After all, since it went free to play, the base of potential users is effectively everyone who owns Steam, and consequently almost the entire quote-unquote gaming community. Outside of Team Fortress 2, Valve have also begun to use another property of theirs as a cross-promotional tool. Dota 2 celebrated the release of Total War Warhammer with their Warhammer Treasure of the Old World. This crate contained a series of Warhammer-themed skins for heroes in Dota. Amusingly, this completes a circle begun with Warcraft. Dota 2 is a sequel to a mod for Warcraft sequel, Warcraft 3, and the original Warcraft took inspiration from the Warhammer tabletop game. Blizzard's other signature IP, StarCraft, went on to take more liberal inspiration from Warhammer 40,000. Across all of these properties, it's worth noting that there is a common theme when it comes to games that seem to be used primarily now for cross-marketing purposes. They're free to play. Whilst there are some exceptions to this theme, like the cosmetics in Diablo 3, the properties that seem to see the most successful use as marketing tools have to reach the widest audience possible. Team Fortress 2, Heroes of the Storm, and Dota 2 are all free-to-play games that rely on having a huge audience to support them financially. This huge audience can then be leveraged, using the easy updating potential offered by the internet to provide either yourself or your partners the way in which to promote other products. Now, none of this is to say that video games are somehow special or unique in implementing cross-promotional deals, but they do provide a very streamlined experience for consumers. They're also becoming more and more the norm in large releases like Mass Effect and Dragon Age, where the Blood Dragon armor sets or Mass Effect players co-opt Dragon Age's signature style, and even in smaller releases like Payday 2 and Chivalry Medieval Warfare, which saw the medieval combat engine co-opt the signature grinning masks of Payday 2. It's safe to say, therefore, that we can expect that with the twin pressures of trying to sell games before they're released and the need for certain properties to find a way to make their money back from an audience who are sometimes unwilling to put their hand in their pocket, publishers will continue to build in ways to advertise to potential customers, even as they play